Um, and I hope the recording is fine with everybody, because we don't want to miss on the expertise that Venkat Rangan is going to share with all of us. Welcome to the session from eWIT in collaboration with Federal Soft Systems. It is very happy to be part of this group and talking about an emerging technology that is going to disrupt all of us and make our lives much more interesting. eWIT is a platform that has been started focusing on the women in IT and ITES sector. However, as we understand, women have their multifaceted personalities being reflected in every walk of life. We do not restrict our empowerment just to women. We start to enable our men folks as well. And especially for our women, we want to promote IT as a preferred career choice and also help on training programs to enhance soft leadership skills, technology. The new eWIT is going to stay focused on innovation, entrepreneurship, and women leadership. So for this, we are going to have more and more networking sessions and knowledge sharing sessions as we move forward. We here at the leadership is also ready to mentor and counsel, so that any one of you looking for one-to-one mentors can also reach out to us, and together we can make wonders. And today we have a very eminent speaker, Venkat Rangan. So I leave the platform to our friend Sarada Ramani to introduce our speaker for the day.
Thank you, Uma. It's wonderful to be back in eWIT sessions. Unfortunately, we planned for a physical session. I think because of this being a weekday and the timing that we were talking about was, we found that many of would prefer a Zoom session, and that's where we are now in a Zoom session. But I'm happy that we are able to get a lot more people to come and attend this session. And who better to talk about it than my very good friend of more than 2.5 decades. We have all been part of Microsoft. We have been hearing Microsoft and the company, the products that we are has become such an everyday.
Kindly request everyone to go on mute.
And this college boy was made a regional, honorary regional director of Microsoft. And from that time onwards, he has been one of our star speakers for Microsoft company itself, not only in Chennai, but across India, including the neighboring countries like Sri Lanka and other places where just out of college and bringing with confidence and a lot of knowledge and expertise, this young man went on to enthrall the audience. And that's how I met Venkat in one of such conferences where he was a speaker. So you can imagine that for the past 25 years, how much of technology topics that he would have taken for many of us who seek knowledge. And he is a senior member in IEEE, and he comes with 25 years of software expertise, and he calls himself a white space leader, which I have to understand what he means by that. Probably post the event, I should ask him what he means by white space leader. He is also an acclaimed member of the Professional Speakers Association, and he has been delivering engaging talks. A prolific blogger, and we are actually connected through blogs. That's how our interest in one another grew, so that we became family friends. And he has done 4,000 blogs in the last 17 years. He is interested in traveling, reading, and movies. And if you want to know more about him, you can just check out his website, TNCV, which stands for tncv.me. So here we speak our speaker, Venkat Rangan, on ChatGPT to all of us. And I'm sure that at the end of the day, we are going to be as knowledgeable as him, hopefully. I know that Venkat can definitely weave a magic. And let's see how that magic is going to unfold right now. Over to you, Venkat.
Thank you so much, Sarada, and over to you, Venkat. May I kindly request all in the audience? May I request all in the audience to kindly go on mute, or Ambika will manage muting all except for Venkat and over the session to Venkat.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm quite happy to see we just touched 100 participants. So that's unexpected, but in a way good. So that also puts the onus on me to make the session interesting and useful. I hope I'm audible and my slides are also visible. If you have any problem, please let me know right now.
Venkat, you wanted only 50. See, we are bringing you 100 plus.
Yeah, that's the additional ownership on me to make it more interesting. Anyway, I'm audible and the screens are visible, right?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Fantastic. So this is a very interesting topic. I think this is one that everybody has been talking in the last 5 to 6 months. So can we have everybody else muted, please?
Ambika, as a host, can you mute everyone?
Yeah, I'm just doing that. I'm doing it.
On entry, make them as a,
Yeah, you can mute all and then just enable me alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So in the last 6 months, I think this has been the topic that everybody, whether it is your mainstream media or politicians or policymakers, lawmakers, everybody has been talking. And as usual, most of them, including so-called big tech personalities who represent big tech, not the big tech leaders. I mean, everybody have a partial understanding of this item. It's like blind people touching the elephants and then going around talking about it. I am a technologist. I love technology. I think technology is something that is good for the mankind. But we should always remember technology is something that we use as a tool. It is not going to take over the world. It is not sentient being. It doesn't have, it's not going to kill all the human beings like sci-fi and all that. Let's get all that rubbish out. This is a tool. We have been using tools for many, many years, right? From the first time we made fire. So with that, we'll start this session. Thank you so much for all the participants. I'll try to make it interactive. So if you want to chip in, please unmute yourself and ask a question without breaking the flow. I hope to keep some time for questions, and I'm available to stay late and take questions as well. So ChatGPT, I'm going to cover a wide range of generative AI, not restrict myself to ChatGPT, and let's see how it goes. Okay, so this is the topics that I wish to cover, the introduction, prompt engineering, and finally, let's see how do you use these technology in your organizations with your data. That's what I want to close with. I know it's a wide surface we are trying to cover in just 1 hour. So I'll try to give you the width of it. I'll not go into the depth unless you have any questions. The objective being, I want you to understand the whole landscape of what is this generative AI. And if you watch carefully, I'm using the term generative AI. I'm not using ChatGPT because it is just one product. Generative AI is the underlying technology. A specific technology out of that is called LLM, large language model. We'll leave the definitions for now. We'll not get into it. If we have time, we'll see whether we can cover the thing. But understand what we are talking today is a model of artificial intelligence, a type of artificial intelligence called generative AI. And that's what ChatGPT, Bard, Bing Chat, LLM, everything falls under. Okay, so just remember that. We'll move on. This is one of my favorite slides. I've been using it in the last 4 or 5 years in many of my talks. And this is to reiterate the point that artificial intelligence or AI is not something new. It's not something ChatGPT brought 5-6 months back, nothing like that. It's about 800 years old to be very precise. And you can read about, you can Google Raman Lal and figure out his story and the book he has written and all that. But broadly, 800 years back, this Catalan poet came up with an idea of coming up with new information, combining existing information. He uses a paper-based mechanized model, which he talked about in his book, to come up with new information, generate new information. And that's exactly what we are now talking. Of course, it's a very primitive model, but there's credit is due where it goes. And in general, again, AI ML, deep learning, neural network, all these are related things and people use it interchangeably, but we'll not get into that. What we are talking about is the overarching term, which is artificial intelligence. In that, we are talking about generative AI today. We'll leave everything else. I'm not going to go into the definition of any of them. But in AI, the field also in the last, even if it's not 800 years, if you don't want to give it credit, from the time computers have been used in the last 60 years, about 15 years, Alan Turing has been said as the father of modern AI. And he has used it to break the Enigma code the Germans used against the Western Allied forces and all that. Even that is about 60 years old. And typically in the last 20, 30 years, there have been AI winters. But in the last winters, meaning suddenly interest out of AI goes out and people keep talking about it, but not. But in the last few years, I think the field has done phenomenal development, and we should credit social media and also all the amount of photos and videos and text that we are all putting online every single day. And that's helping these models, because these models require large volumes of data, which we are now creating. And in the last 5 years, I think the last 10 years probably, is the huge amount of digital data we have created, unlike anywhere, any time in the past in the human civilization. So that's the context for you about AI. One point before we get into the actual demos, this is a slide I've taken from the recent Microsoft build. Of course, you would have heard it in the mainstream media that ChatGPT is one of the fastest growing. We'll not talk about the Facebook Meta thread for now. It's been one of the fastest growing application in terms of usage. 100 million users in about 2 months' time. Even Facebook took about 4.5 years to grow to 100 million users. So there's large amount of interest on this ChatGPT, which is one of the products developed by OpenAI. One of the easiest way to use this is Bing Chat, which is a free product from Microsoft. The search product, they also have brought chat. Google is also have a preview called Bard. We'll try to see a couple of them in the thing, but again, generative AI, the overarching term, ChatGPT is one of the products. We'll quickly see a demo of all these three, Google Bard, Bing, and ChatGPT. ChatGPT and Bing from Microsoft use the same algorithm, the same model developed by OpenAI. Google uses a different model in their product called Bard. But again, all of them for practical purposes, in this discussion, we can take all of them to be the generative AI. And all of them are large language models. They are all large language models, pretty self-explanatory. So we'll do some demos. So let's see if the demo gods are with me. One good thing about doing it online is I have access to my main computer where I have a lot of these things running. So let's go to ChatGPT and try to see that first. Okay, we'll do some very interesting demos. Okay, so let's say you've all seen this. Give me a recipe for eggless cake. Okay, so in my demos, I come up with pretty interesting things. So yeah, it's come out. It's not, you might be wondering, what is new here, Venkat? We have always used Google search. So why I'm just chatting here. What's new with this? The interesting thing here is you can combine this with queries and generate data which doesn't exist in any search engines. Are only going to bring out data that has already been somebody in some blog, some media somewhere has published. But this particular content, figure out whether it is right or wrong, is not something that was already existing. This system has now generated this. We'll check out Bing and then come back and make this query a little complex. I just want to show you that the products from different companies more or less work the same. So we'll just copy the same query. We'll go to Bard, which is Microsoft's offering, which is based on the same engine. Okay. So I'm asking the same query, give me a recipe for eggless cake. If you notice, hopefully, the result should be a little different. Though I said it uses the same model, the answer that it kind of gives you is different. You can try out these examples, so you don't need to focus on what exactly the text come, but there is some kind of answer that I got. Why is it different? If I set the same model, then that's where is the key point to understand on generative AI is that every time you run this, the answers are likely to be different. It is not what we call as there is no single truth. When we search something, very likely you will get the same result the second time. Computers are known to give same results any number of times you run. But here, in all these large language models, you are likely to see different results each time you try. Why they became that way, all that is all based on statistics. We leave it for the current discussion. For the quick thing, we'll just go to ChatGPT, try it once again. The same query, I'm trying it again. Very likely I'm seeing a different results. Okay, first time, yeah, it said instruction is pre-eat. This time it's actually said something different. If I try once more, I'm going to get a slightly different result. Hopefully all of them are eggless cake. Okay, and we'll come to that a little bit later. So Bing, we tried ChatGPT, we tried the Google product with the same query. Give me a recipe for eggless cake. And if you notice, it kind of takes more time than what we are normally used to in a Google search. This is Bard, the Google large language model. Here again, they are giving different options that you can see. You don't like draft 1, you can choose draft 2, draft 3, so on and so forth. The same query, we'll try it in Google. You'll actually see the results come up a lot more faster. There is no computation that's happening in the backend. So this kind of gives you an idea that there is something more complex going on in these generative AI. There is something being computed on a real-time basis, and it's not showing something that is pre-stored like Google search. So that's the first concept I want you to focus on, that these are generated and you get different answers each time you try. Okay, so let's try something a little bit more interesting. Okay, so let me refresh the page. And if you notice here, this is using a model from OpenAI, the company that's began ChatGPT, called GPT 3.5. There is GPT-4. We'll come to that a bit later. We'll stick to GPT 3.5. We'll do something interesting. Okay, recipes are fine. I get it in Google. What's so interesting, Venkat? Today I was reading something about large language models, obviously as preparation to this particular talk. And I came up with the statistics. Okay, there are about 100,000 words in English Oxford Dictionary. Okay, so this is standard data. There are 100,000 words, and each sentence in English typically has about 10 words. So these two are facts. There are 100,000 words in English, or rather English Oxford Dictionary. Each sentence has got 10 words. Now, one of the statistics I read, to come up with all the combination, all the sentences, or to count the total number of sentences that are there in English, total number of sentences that are possible in English. Somebody told me a statistics is about 10 to the power of 50. Okay. The thing Max I learned in permutation was different. The permutation we learned is, if you want to figure out a permutation, in this case, it should be 100,000 words to the power of 10. How is it 10 to the power of 50? Okay, I wanted the explanation. Can you explain it? So I'm asking ChatGPT. Okay, can you explain the answer, how it was derived? One of the worst things to do is type in demos. Okay, so it kind of says, if you read it, or hopefully that's the answer, it kind of says basically 10 to the power of 50 is exactly the same as 100,000 to the power of 10. I'm pretty bad at maths, but I think it's probably right. So this is a question, this kind of, I am trying to, the point I'm making is, you're learning something, you're not able to understand, and that's where you can use these large language models to explain something. And people have used it to explain jokes. Most often we read it, readers read this joke and we scratch our heads trying to understand what was fun. You get the funny part, but you don't understand the joke. Light bulb jokes. How many light bulbs does Rajinikanth require? Okay, so some answer will come, but you'll not be able to understand. So ChatGPT is a way, when you're, especially for students and learning, you are learning a new technology, anything new, or reading a book, you come here and ask it, it's kind of able to answer it. How it does it? Again, it uses a large language model. We're not going to go into the physics and the statistics. Maybe in the question and answer, if there's time, we'll get into it. But broadly, you can ask questions, get answers, and also explain the answers. And you can also ask it to break step by step. There are multiple things you can keep doing it here. Okay, we'll go a little bit more interesting, more humanly useful for the human society. Recently, I saw the Mission Impossible movie. So I want to figure out if that same movie is taken in Tamil, who should be the best actor? Okay, so I think that's the world pressing thing. We'll ask ChatGPT if it can suggest who's the best actor, whether it is Vijay or Rajini, who will be the best to do it. Okay. Okay, so that's my question. I'll show it to you. Between Vijay and here is the superstar, who should be playing Mission Impossible. So it's a very diplomatic answer. It says both of them are good. Vijay is known for his energetic performance, whereas Rajini is a legendary, larger than life image. Ultimately, the decision depends upon the creative team that is behind Mission Impossible. Okay, kind of very diplomatic answer, but you can figure out where I'm going with this. The other day, I asked it to say, what is the best movie that you might want to take in the likes of S Minister, the same humor, and it suggested few movies. And remember, the point I'm trying to make here is, this is not an answer that was pre-existing somewhere in the internet. This is being computed, kind of, I won't say real time, but near real time for you. These answers are generated. So you can come up with any complex queries that you can think of. And the same thing for just fun. Let me put it on. This is a model that I'm running. Okay, one point let me make here. The ChatGPT, if you see the URL is chat.openai.com, Bard is bot.google.com, Bing is basically all of them are running online in the cloud. And if you're somebody who's not very comfortable putting it on the cloud and you just want to run it on your local machine, the ChatGPT model is pretty large. It's about trillions of parameters. You can't run it locally, but there are models from, especially Facebook has open sourced a model called Llama, and they have launched a model yesterday also, which you can run it in your local machine. I'm running one of them, the Facebook model called Dalai Lama. Okay, nothing to do with the spiritual leader we all have regards to. I'm running that model in my local machine. Let me just show it to you. I have a Linux instance where I'm running this model here. Dalai Serve, that's what I'm doing. I'm not going to go into detail. How did I deploy this and all that? But that's the model I'm running here in my local machine. You can see localhost. Okay, and I'm going to give the same query and I'm asking it for a result. It's going to take a bit of time because it's running in my local machine. And you're going to get a slightly different result here. If you don't get an answer, we'll use my PowerPoint. But the point I'm trying to make here is these models are ChatGPT, Bard, Bing are all running on the cloud. But some of those models, you can run it locally, not the same ones, but smaller ones. In this case, it uses a model called Alpaca, which is 7B, which means 7 billion parameters. What is those parameters? For now, just think of them as tables, like 7 billion columns. It's not exactly right, but that's something you can visualize. Whereas the OpenAI model that we earlier saw had billions, hundreds of billions, and the ChatGPT 4 has like nearly a trillion parameter to run. So it's like several thousand bigger than. So it kind of gives a very interesting answer. And it's pretty slow, as you can see, because it's running locally. But let's get into my PowerPoint. If you see here, I've already generated the answer here. One second. Yeah, you should be able to see it better now. Just a second, sorry. Shouldn't be doing these in, yeah. So, yeah, let me share it again. I think it's stopped. One second. Yeah. Is it visible? Is my screen visible again?
Yes, Venkat, we can see you.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes,
Thank you.
visible.
Thank you. Okay, so I think I will stay in the same mode. Yeah. Yeah. So if you see here, this result is already generated, and it's kind of a little funny. It's not very accurate like the OpenAI result that we saw, because this is a model that's running locally and it's a smaller model. The point I want you to take is as the models become bigger and bigger, the results kind of tend to become more interesting, more accurate. Okay, so we'll move on. So you kind of got a flavor of this. And large language models, or AI for that matter, you might have read, are trained on data. They have huge need for data. That is why there is a big demand by all these companies. Data is the new oil, as Mr. Ambani said some time back. But where are these companies getting this data? For example, where is this Llama model that I showed, which I ran locally? Where is it trained? This is the corpus that it's kind of using. Some of the common crawl is crawling the internet, kind of like Google search. And that's about 3.3 TB of data. That composes about 67% of data that the Llama model is trained on. C4 is on source codes, GitHub, Wikipedia, we all are familiar, books, open source books, ARXIV is the research paper, so on and so forth. Broadly, all the data that's available out there in the internet is what is used to train these models. And that is the result why you see English language doing very well in these AI and not when compared to, say, Hindi or Tamil. And that's something with all the state governments. For example, I'm working with the Tamil Nadu government effort to bring up with more data in Tamil so that these models could be trained on Tamil language. So the bottom line is these models require large amounts of data. Look at the size of this data that they are trained on. And to train them, they need huge amounts of computation power. That is why ChatGPT will say, my data is last checked only up to September 2021. It's about 2 years. To retrain this on this large amount of corpus of data takes enormous amount of computation power, even then, large amount of data. So there are tricks that Bing does or Bard does to come up with latest information, but those are tricks. The training for these models happened about 2 years back, and there are some of the newer models are smaller, but they are able to train faster. Anyways, we'll move on. So that's about the overview. We'll now switch gears. When I put these queries into these ChatGPT or Bing, what I typed, like in this Llama's case, it said, show me a prompt. It said, show me a prompt here. What is this prompt? And there's a whole field now called prompt engineering. There's a huge amount of YouTube. If you go and search for prompt engineering, there are a lot of courses that train you how to query these models. And there is no science here. Even the people who invented ChatGPT or who designed don't know how this system kind of works. So there is no guideline from them. How do you do prompts? Everybody is trying to figure out how these large language models are working based on a prompt. So the recommendation is try giving these, if you have a query, try arranging the words, rearranging the words, making your queries explicit and expanded, and try all those. So people are saying you give different methods and see what works. There are 4 guidelines or 4 elements of a prompt, which if you understand it, it will make you use these tools very well. First is instruction. What do you want these models to do? In our case, when we go back here, we said between Vijay and Rajni, who should be playing Ethan and if Mission Impossible were to be made in Tamil? Or in this case, I said, how is the answer? Can you explain the answer? How is it derived? So basically, I was asking it questions. If you see my earlier examples, I have sent this example. Let's see. This is a tweet I wrote some time back. You can see it in my timeline. Airtel and their customers should be aware of fraud, blah, blah. I said, can you rewrite this to be better? Rewrite this text to be a good tweet. And it shows me as an expert in the field of technology and cybersecurity. So that's the prompt I gave. The instruction or what I wanted to do was this word, which is key, rewrite. And I said some more. So why am I writing? I could have easily said rewrite and given the text, but I made effort to write something more to suit it to be a good tweet, shows me an expert. Basically, I'm expanding this. I'm being as prose as possible. In Google search, you being as cryptic, as short, it will give you better results. Here, you should be as prose, as expandable as possible so that you are able to get better results. Again, this is an evolving field. And so the best thing is to keep trying. And one of the best things is you can do follow-on queries. I can say to this, can you give another try? And hopefully it should be able to give another shot. Okay, it's going to take this and then say it's written differently. And I can say, now make it funny. Now make it to 50 words. I can keep giving instructions like this. Okay, sky is the limit. If you can imagine, you can keep giving 50 words. If you count, more or less, it will be 50 words. You can even ask it to make it 500 words. I don't know why I want to do it for 500 words. But then it's going to get very creative and keep going to spill out 500 words. That's how these models work. So that's the prompt. What I made here, what am I giving here? These commands, they are called prompts. And they have the first element in a prompt is called the instruction. The second one is the context. That is very important. In this case, the context I set it. I gave some more instructions, right? Don't worry too much about, you don't need to write it's not a textbook for you to learn this. Just get a feel of how prompts work. Okay, kind of, in this case, the context that I set is that I'm going to be using it as a tweet. And it should show me as an expert in the field, etc. So those are the context I'm setting. The actual data, which is the third element, is this. That's the input data. So we have seen three things here. The instruction, which is rewrite what I wanted to do. Then I set the context. Then I actually gave it the input. So there are three elements in this prompt. And the last one is the output format. In this case, tweet can also be an output format, or more precisely is this number of words I've said, 50 words, 500 words, and all that. I can also say give it as a table, make it 10 words and give it as a table. Why do you want to give it as a table, a text? I don't know, but you can ask it. It becomes very useful. I'll give you a different example why table will be useful. Compare iPhone Pro 12 with iPhone Pro 14. Okay, it is going to give me a list of features of these two phones. Okay, which is we typically get it in a Google search. Where it becomes interesting, the last part of that, the format comes into play. Now I can instruct it to give it as a table. Okay, and I can say include the latest Samsung Fold as well. You see where am I going with it? I'm giving it as a format, and I'm also giving it new context or new information. The system is able to take it. This is one of the things that the earlier Siri or Google Assistant or Cortana, they were not able to understand. These are follow-up queries. These large language models are able to have the context in which we are asking these queries. It's very common to human beings. When you ask a child to bring a water, it will bring. And if you say pour it, it knows that it has to pour the water. Earlier, these assistants didn't know, but these new large language models are able to understand. Now, if you've seen this example, the format, it's able to give it to me as a table. This is extremely useful when you are researching something online. You have 4 products, you want to compare the Google search, or nobody has this page, but you can get it. And Bing search has an interesting thing that let's ask for a Sony 44 inches smart TV. Okay, I'm going to go to a Sony page. Okay, let me go to a Sony page. I'll pick up a TV, any TV randomly. When we want it. Okay, learn more. So I'm in this particular Sony TV page. Now Bing search, if you're using the Edge browser, it kind of runs in the same context to the page that you're running. You can install this Bing search if you're using the Edge browser, and it knows this current context. These two are now tied up. So I can say, give me a summary of this page. What page? It already knows that this is the Sony TV page that I'm talking about. That is the advantage of using Bing. Microsoft calls this as co-pilot. The same Bing that we saw earlier. Just a second. Yeah, the same Bing the service is the same. Whatever is running on the left is exactly the same running on the right, but on the right is just available as a plugin to the browser. That's the difference. But in this case, because I've been in a page and I called it, it says, this is an advertisement for a TV about Sony, etc., etc. And then I can do a follow-on query. Give me the top features as a table. Okay, so it's able to pick up these features from this and start giving it as a table. And now you can move to another page, the right-hand side, the Bing Copilot. This one on the right-hand side is called the Copilot. That kind of still keeps running. So you can go to multiple pages and then say, keep comparing to the previous, and then you can compose your own table of comparison. This becomes very useful and demo-gods will not permit me if I don't show this demo. Let me go to ChatGPT again. In this case, I'll go to ChatGPT 4, which is the latest version. If you are using this, you won't be able to, if you're not using the paid version, you won't see GPT-4, you'll only get GPT 3.5. I've got the paid version, but anyway, it works on the free also, but I wanted to show you GPT-4. Planned a 2-day trip to Tanjore to see popular places, include what famous restaurants on the way. Okay, so now it's going to come up with an itinerary for me, and it's going to include the restaurants that's got good reviews online, etc. And you can keep adding more to this query. With the second day should be Trichy, and I should be given itinerary based on air travel, so on and so forth. It's going to do that. There's no magic here. It's learned from all this data from multiple sources, like we saw, from all the web page crawling, Wikipedia, and all the other sources, and it's able to combine. The beauty about these large language models, they're able to accept a query from us in human format and able to answer it as in human format. Okay, so that's the wonderful. You can try. And if you have multiple things, you can use this Bing chat and keep going with this thing. So what is a prompt? A prompt has 4 elements: instruction, the context, input data, and the output. These are some of the tips, and then we'll switch gears. If you, like I said, nobody, even the creators, don't know what's a good prompt today. So the recommendation they make, try to come up with clear instructions on the command. Do you want to rewrite, classify, translate, whatever? You can think of all the action words. Be very specific, but try to keep the length of it shorter, because these there is a token limit for many of them. If you're going to go to the OpenAI labs, their playground, which I'll see if we can show it, it will tell you each of these prompts that they are giving, how much token they occupy. Token can be roughly number of words. They're not the same, because some words translate to multiple tokens, but they are the internal representations of how whatever prompt you are giving is handled by the system. So be very specific and try to keep it shorter. Avoid impreciseness. It's not about, and some people try to say, don't say this. Go to Trichy, but don't include Madurai. That's probably, if you are very specific, there is a need, give it. But in normal cases, do not leave out the do not statements. Be instead, only give me Trichy, only give me Tanjore is a better way of saying than saying not Madurai, so on and so forth. And be as precise as possible. That's why in my simple example, you would have seen, I want to showcase myself as an expert. I want this to be used as a tweet. So on. When I said tweet, the system kind of automatically knows that it should be less than 140 characters or 200 characters and so on and so forth. Types of prompts. We saw the different elements of prompts. Now, you might have heard these terms online if you have seen about ChatGPT. 0 short prompts, few short prompts. Again, by this itself is a huge topic, but I'll kind of give you an overview. 0 short prompts are those single line queries that you give, where you don't give an example. You just ask for give a prompt and ask for an example. Few short prompts are where you give examples and then ask it to do. What is an example? Few short prompts. One example could be the first one that I said. I gave you the answer, the mathematic problem, right? Number of words in English and number of words in a sentence, and I asked it to compute and break it down. That's a kind of an example for a few short prompt. A 0 short prompt will be just, what is the most popular movie? What is the most popular English movie today? This is a single short prompt where I haven't given it any information. Okay, so I'll show you one more example of this. It's probably interesting. Okay, this is something I tried out yesterday. See this. This is again an example of a few short prompt. I told to ChatGPT, you are a new type of calendar where months are colors and days are fruits. Months are colors. So January should be red, February should be orange, so on and so forth. And days are fruits. There are 30, 31 days or 29 days, and each of them, there are more fruits. And I gave it some examples also. For example, January is red, February is white, And then I said day 1 is equal to apple, day 2. So I kind of gave it more. This is called as stop signs, because generally in usage, we don't use two # symbols next to each other. So that's kind of a break, like we put, what do you call, periods when we write. So the LLM model kind of use the two, it's a convention more. And the system understood and gave me some examples. So I understood January is red, February is white, and then it's able to construct for different colors. And similarly, on the right-hand side, it says day 1 is apple, day 2 is banana, and all that. Now I can go ahead and ask, what will be March 10th in this calendar? Why do you want to do a calendar? I just want a weird example. That's why I took this. In this colorful and fruity calendar, March is represented by blue, and 10th day is represented by what? 10th day is represented by the 10th fruit. Okay, it's orange. Okay, so in this calendar, it should be March is blue. So blue, orange is what it is. Yeah, it's able to give me the answer. So 10th March should be represented as blue, orange. Let's do one more example just for the silliness of it. I'm liking this. September 20th. Okay, if those of you who have been following closely, this is the context. In this case, I also set the context for the system where it's kind of working. So you could have figured that out. So September 20th in this calendar is going to be brown plum. Okay, so you get the idea. Then there is chain of thought prompting, where you say something and then you continue the, I said follow-on queries. Those are kind of chain of thought prompting. This is useful when you wanted to break it down step by step. Okay, and the last one are called generated knowledge prompting, where you ask it to generate some information, and based on that you prompt something. You ask it to generate something, and then based on it you give some prompts. This is interesting. Let's switch to some demos and then try to see this. I'm going to be using a system that is the OpenAI model deployed by Microsoft on their cloud in the Azure AI. That's called the Azure AI Chat Playground. The same thing is available in ChatGPT's Playground, but that's paid. You have to separately pay for it. But I have an Azure subscription, so I'm showing. But more or less, both the systems are exactly the same. So let's go to that. Okay, I'm going to be running this system, OpenAI, run by Azure. I'm going to go to the Playground. This is kind of like a debugging system where you can see the system in action, and you can see a lot of the examples of what these systems are possible. Okay, so there is also the same thing is available in the ChatGPT version also. This, of course, requires you to have an Azure subscription. Okay, so let's go to the. Okay, there are a lot of examples given here. What this is the same system. Don't be intimidated by all the developer systems here. It kind of gives you the same. The backend is the same large language model, but in a different interface. They are giving you some examples. Here right now they are saying you are an Xbox support agent system message, which is pretty much the same prompt. In this case, they are calling it as a system message. There's a distinction between the system message and the user and all that, but for now, let's leave it. And it's saying, this is your, they've set the context and all that. How much is a PS5 is the query they have actually, let's do this query and see what happens. So here is a system that's being told to be an Xbox customer support, and I'm asking how much is a PS5. Obviously, the system doesn't know. But if I say how much is Xbox One, yes, it should be able to answer. It's able to give me some answer. Yesterday, I asked it to be on Singapore, so it's kind of remembering the Singapore dollars. So they have given you various examples here. You can ask, of course, these are not exhaustive. You can say you are a tax chat bot. You can behave like one and all that. You can play around with these. We'll move to this one, the completion playground. You might also be hearing this term called, many of these large language models, you might be hearing they are completion engines. Meaning if you give something partial, they have a compulsion to complete it. That's how they work. If you read the internals, these large language models basically are trying to predict what comes to the particular word or the sequence of words that they have given. What are the sequences that are likely to come next to the sequence that you have given? So that's how they are designed. So they have a compulsion to complete. So for example, we can even go here and see this, go to our ChatGPT itself and say, it is raining cats, and I'll just leave it. It should guess it as dogs. Okay, it's able to guess. So you can give incomplete sequences or sentences and will be able to complete it. Most likely, they are likely to be correct. Okay, in this, there are again multiple examples. The reason I wanted to show you is these are some of the possibilities that are available. You can ask it to classify text. You can ask it to translate. All these models. The reason why ChatGPT, Bard, and Bing API are all popular over the other AI models are their general purpose. Earlier, to do a sentiment analysis or to do classification or to do understand a summary, you have to use different models. Here, this one model kind of works for multiple things. That's why they are very popular. Let's do a summary, summarize an article. It's given me an example, provide a summary of the text, and it's able to give it. You'll be getting the answer. The reason I'm using this and not the ChatGPT here, more though they are the same, is that they have some more debugging information available for me. In this case, the number of tokens I said are the size that your prompt can be. And each of these systems have a limitation on the size. So you can't write you can't give 100,000 words and ask it to summarize. It's not going to work. You have to break it down into smaller prompts. Each prompt typically about 4K is what most of these 4,000 is what most of these systems today can do. But in this example, you can play around and reduce the number of tokens and see how the system behaves. And you can say the stop sequences. I talked about double hash, right? But you can come up with something else on your own. And you can change these. I'm not going to go into that, but kind of you understand that these things can be tweaked. Here, it's all hidden. You just have a text box you're typing, chat interface. You can go into a little bit more detail. So I just want you to get an idea that at the end of the day, this is all software and you can control the parameters that you are giving for it. Okay, we'll switch gears. As I said, there is a whole subject you can do. And this is another example I tried. Write a product launch email for a headphone which is priced so-and-so. What is the subject of the email? What is the body of the email? And the system will be able to generate it for you. Okay. We'll move on something more interesting. We saw all this text. Now let's look at whether these systems can generate music. Yes, Facebook has a model. Again, they are large language models. If you ask me what is music and language, some of these models are also called as multimodal models. Meaning, apart from text, they can also understand music, they can understand image, which means they can also do video. So you can give input and output for these models, like ChatGPT 4, multimodal. So you can give it an image and ask it to describe it. Or you can give a text and ask it to generate an image. In this case, I've given an instruction, a drums only music, and I've asked it to generate a music. It's going to generate a music for me. Let's go ahead and try this. Hopefully, we should be able to see this. Yes, let's give it a shot. Okay, so it kind of generated a music for me. And if you can try this, you can just Google Facebook music generator. It will take you to a site called what is that? Hugging Face. Hugging Face, and you can go from there. You can go to this particular model and play around. This exact thing that I showed you is available in Meta, and it's called a music generator. This one. In chat, if any of you want to try, you have any prompt, I can try it out for the music now. Quickly, anybody has any suggestions for a music that you want to see? I'll show you one more example I tried. Okay, I tried in another system, generate a violin only song. I used a different ChatGPT. Is that okay? So there's no choice. There's no, okay. I'll show you this also. This is also a music plugin. In this case, I use ChatGPT with a music plugin. This one is interesting. It's able to give me the music notes also. I said generate a violin only song. to celebrate victory and gave me a music note, and it also gave me the music. You get the idea. So can we try violin music for a sad day? I don't know why I want to be sad, but as you can see, it's going to take about 2 minutes. We'll not wait, but when it completes, we'll probably try to come back. These models take time, and it's running on a very, very powerful system. Anyways. Okay, so we'll switch gears. So we saw text. We also saw Taylor Swift Eras tools. Okay. Probably it's going to tell me that's copyrighted. Let me refresh this page and then give that. Okay, let it keep working. I don't know what it's going to come back with. Okay, so we'll switch gears. So we saw text, we saw music. We'll go into portrait painting, which is a little interesting. I'll show you this in action, and then I'll show you the results also. I'm going to be using a tool. Again, it's from Microsoft. It's called Image Creator. It is also available from, in this Microsoft example also, it's there. It's called DALL-E, the same engine that's powering. ChatGPT also has this. But I'm going to be using the version that Microsoft has got, Image Creator. You can install it for free in Bing. And I'm going to say Demi Moore in Raja Ravi Verma style. Okay. It's going to ask me to log in and all that. Okay, I'm not going to do that. But if you tried this example, okay.
So
you
that
will see.
Venkat, so that means we can portray ourselves as in Ravi Verma's painting, is it?
You can, but the system should be knowing you. The system should have been trained on your image.
Okay, got you.
There are ways to simulate training, but that's beyond the scope of current discussion. But for these models, the data that they have been trained on popular figures.
Okay,
but in this case, because Demi Moore is a famous actress, I tried, for example, to get an idea, I tried an example. I want Mahatma Gandhi wearing t-shirt and shorts, speaking on an iPhone. The system flagged, I'm trying to do a fake news. While sometime back, you would have seen Pope wearing a raincoat and riding on a car, and that became a sensation online. People are able to generate. The other ardent example, Trump being arrested. Everybody thought the image was so realistic that it really happened. And then all these systems started locking down. Microsoft said, no, I'll not do real world people. I'll not do Trump. I'll not do Pope and all the. That's why today, and they're locking down these systems. As we talk, they are locking it down. Today, OpenAI, ChatGPT, if you go, it doesn't crawl the web. Till last week, they were allowing it to crawl the web, meaning you can give a URL and say summarize. Right now, they don't, because people are misusing it to get information that they are not supposed to get. For example, they are asking it to give me Windows 10 keys, it's generating. Or they are asking it, people give me Wall Street Journal subscription only content, it's giving it. So they are trying to lock it down more and more as they just opened the floodgates. So in this example, I said Demi Moore and Raja Ravi Verma style. The system can do it, but Microsoft is preventing it. But the AI model can do. So what I did, like any other engineer, I took the model and ran it myself in my local computer, and I got this result. Whether it resembles Demi Moore, don't ask me, but you get the idea. It is on the style of Ravi Verma. Look at the palettes and the hues and the thing. Okay, I tried famous Tamil actresses, it doesn't come that good, but then how I did it, just to give you a thing, I ran the model in my local machine called Stable Diffusion. I ran it here. I'll show you the example. The reason I'm showing you this is that I want to demystify it. It's not something only the cloud companies can run. You can run it on your local machine is the point I want you to remember. So this is it. Let's give something. You have any suggestions, Sarada?
Not necessarily. I'll go with whatever you're doing.
Give me something. After Demi Moore, I'm not stuck. Okay, let me try. Give some foreign actor or let me try Tom Cruise. Okay, if everybody.
Yes.
Tom Cruise as a Any other famous painter? As a modern art. Okay, let's see this. What happens? Okay, and it's really running in my local machine, because if I go here, the system should be running here. You should be able to see this running here. It's actually
Srinath
not
says
computing the answer.
Picasso.
We can try that next. Even this is, it's like I'm running it in my machine. It's really struggling.
Venkat, is that what Senthil Nayagam is doing when he's
Correct. He's taking a similar system, but he has a large computation power available to run these models better and faster.
Okay.
He's also training them. He's using this training thing, which I'm not using right now. Okay.
I think he has trained the system to draw his daughter and all.
Correct. He has taken there are similar models for video. What he has done, there is a person online, and Sundar Nayagam is a serial entrepreneur. He has taken the Kavalan song where I think Tamanna has acted and changed it to Simran. And it's really very convincing video. You should see that. And that also brings question to see what is real. Trump arresting photograph, we were able to understand now real videos itself, if they start becoming fake, where is truth is a question. We'll try to address it a little later. Can I take another 10-15 minutes?
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead, Venkat.
Thanks. So let it keep generating, but you will get the image. Tom Cruise as a modern art. I made it very small as 256 pixels, but to make it bigger, I need more computation power and all that. Anyways, we'll move on. So the idea I want to say is these models are available online for you, either free or subscription, but they are being censored and they are being controlled. So you might want to run these models also locally when you want to try something that is not allowed there, or that is the other side of this coin is that if you run this locally, this query that I did, Tom Cruise as a modern art, has not left my computer. It is private to me, which also means I can use these models to generate adult content, which is not allowed online. I can do nefarious things. I can generate fake photographs and all that. These models are out there. No government or no law can prevent what I'm running locally in my computer. And these models are open source today. Just remember those, that just because it's controlled online doesn't, if government of India blocks DALI model, you can actually download it and run it on your local machine. So that's how it is. You may not get the same data they trained it, but the models more or less you can get. There is another thing in ChatGPT. There are multiple plugins. One of the plugin I used and gave it a text. A young boy and girl going on a picnic in front of Taj Mahal eating lunch. Now it generated the lengthy prompt for me. That if I take it and I give it to my same Stable Diffusion that you're seeing, it's able to generate an image that is something like this.
But where is the young couple?
Sorry?
You said not a young couple. You said a boy and a girl. Okay.
A young boy and girl going on a picnic in front of Taj Mahal is the simple prompt that I gave, but to get a better results, I should have written it bigger. Okay. For that, I used ChatGPT and a plugin called Photorealistic. So the input was the smaller prompt, but it gave a longer prompt. That I took it and give it to the same Stable Diffusion that I ran here, and that gave me this output. If you notice one thing, the pictures of the boys, the faces are not clear. I can actually tick a thing here called restore faces and it will slightly become better, but then it's going to take more compute power. And to get these photorealistic images, I'll have to spend more compute power. That's how it works. This Adobe has got a product called FireFly. The same prompt, if I give it there, I'll get better results. I'll just show it to you. Variety is the spice of life. So again, there are multiple of these models. There are thousands of these models available out there. So here I can go to Adobe and say, whatever, man walking in New York reading a paper. Okay. This is by Adobe. It's a free product right now. Okay, so let's get rid of this. Okay, so the system Adobe FireFly, now a man, New York, it's giving it as an art thing. I can change it to a photograph. And it's able to give it. There is one other thing here called, you might have heard of this, there is Discord, which is a thing, and you can use better models. For a minute, let's just wait here. You see, it becomes a photograph now. And I can change the lighting and all that. I can keep doing, I can keep playing. You can spend hours on this system. So this is the same FireFly for the same young boy, girl in front of Taj Mahal having lunch. The image becomes better and better. Okay, let's go to Discord. I just want to show you this Midjourney. This is a different interface from a browser. Discord is like your WhatsApp or Slack, but as a system, there is this company called Midjourney, who are very popular. It said they are a Chinese company, I'm not sure. They give very photorealistic output that Stable Diffusion or FireFly or my Bing cannot do. You need a subscription to give a prompt here. I'm not going to give a prompt. Let me just pick up what people are already using the system. Reason is you'll see how photorealistic they are. See this one? It's a house, and you see as it becomes better, it's so good. Some of them are you can't even believe they are not a photograph. They are all computer generated. If you have, there are some people, you'll actually see it to be really even better. Unfortunately, right now we are not seeing any. These are what others have tried. See this. You can't believe this is a computer generated image. This is by a product called Midjourney. Again, these are large language models, same generative AI. Different companies are tuning the model, improving the model, coming up with better models, and they're getting better results. So we saw Stable Diffusion locally, we saw Adobe FireFly, and we saw Midjourney. We'll move on and then try to wrap up. Yeah. Okay. So this is another product from Microsoft called designer.microsoft.com. You can create a free account. You can generate these images, and also you can use them to create your Instagram posters and all that. So it's kind of a generation plus Canva combination. A new product from Microsoft called designer.microsoft.com. It's a free one. Canva also has this feature. Today in Canva also you can go ahead and give a text and it will generate the image automatically for you. But this is a product from Microsoft. I just wanted to show.
Say that again, designer?
Designer.microsoft.com, or just Google Microsoft Designer.
Okay.
As I said, Canva also has this feature. So if you're already using Canva, but it's a paid feature in Canva. In the one I showed you, Midjourney, I gave this prompt sometime back, Macron inspired home office, etc., etc. And you will get this output. See this, it's fantastic. I don't know how much of it comes out clearly in Zoom, but this photo, it's as good as a photograph or even better than a photograph. It's very obvious what is the advantage. You are doing an interior for an house or something. You can give this prompt and come up with output and get inspiration from this. This is Midjourney. Midjourney is the best when it comes to photorealistic output. And already people are using this to generate interiors and other things. Movies are also using this. Any questions so far? We are going to wrap up by the last segment of the talk. I'll just check if there are any chat questions. How does data protection appear? Okay. Got it. Okay. Any other questions? Midjourney is fun if you want to play, but you need an account. They have almost stopped the free one. But for those of you after this session, if you want to play around, easiest will be either Adobe FireFly or Microsoft Designer, or use this image creator. If you are using Edge browser, you can install this thing called image creator. And these are all free. You don't need to. Stable Diffusion, you'll have to run it locally, but all these other things are free. You can play around. Sky is the limit. Okay, the next question you'll ask. Yes, we saw text. We saw how you can summarize, classify, sentiment and all that. We saw music. We saw images. We're not going to be seeing video because that's complex. But more importantly, what does it do for my business? We're all business entrepreneurs, etc. Can I use it for my data, my corporate data? And I don't want my corporate data to go as a prompt to OpenAI or anybody. That's where companies like Microsoft in their Azure cloud or Google in their cloud or AWS, Amazon are all giving you offering, where they are running these models in their cloud privately for you, and where you can inject your corporate data and it never leaks outside. That's also can be done. This is a bit tricky, but I'll just leave it to you. But if you're not able to follow, it's fine. What do I do is I can't take my entire data, gigabits of data, and give it as a prompt. I can't retrain my the model based on my data, because as I said, that requires large time. And even the OpenAI model is trained only 2 years back. In those cases, what people do is they create something called as a vector database, store your data on vector database. And when you give a query, when you give a prompt, it first queries your vector database, that creates a prompt, and that prompt goes into these OpenAI systems or anything that's run locally. Bottom line, the point I'm making is, if you have your corporate data, you don't want to go it anywhere, you can run them in Azure cloud or Google cloud and still use all these goodies of the power from the large language models. You can still do that. Lastly, this is my last but one slide. There is also questions governments are also asking, how do I know that this is a real picture? Photograph. Yesterday I had a conversation with somebody on Facebook. The person is a professional photographer. He was asking, Venkat, now how do I know some photograph is real or it's computer generated? Now, like in this example, if I'm entering a photography competition and I give this as a entry, I'm very likely to win an award because the photograph is so good. How do I determine? There is no right answers today. Everybody is trying to figure out, but these are some of the tools that people are coming up with to detect whether something is computer generated or something is real. What is real? You can go into spiritual questions. OpenAI also has created their own system called AI text classifier. You can go ahead and put a text and see whether this was computer generated or it was manual. AIorNot is a popular tool. There's also a thing called Illuminati, where you can upload your image. It will say whether this image is computer generated or not. There is a whole thing, and big tech have said, well, Google, Microsoft, AWS, OpenAI have all said the images they generate, they will have a watermark, invisible watermark saying that these are computer generated. But the obvious question is, in a line of text when you generate, how do you say this is computer generated? People will delete that text, right? So those are something people are trying to figure out. Lastly, I leave with this thought, and then we'll open for questions. It's a very famous quote that I really like. Was there a question? Sorry. Okay. By Dog Engelbart, the inventor of computer mouse, he said technology should aim to not replace humans rather than amplify human capabilities. So whatever I showed, the image generation is, the idea is not to replace photographers. It is to complement them, give them more power. It is not to, the music generation is not to replace Ilayarajas and ARRs. It is to give them new tools. And of course, even right now, we have to write the prompts. And these systems are far from perfect. Though they can be used to do a lot of other wonderful things, they are still years or decades away from being perfect. So remember this, these are tools like autocorrect we are using to complement our skills. They are by no means a threat. No computer is going to take over the world anytime soon. So I leave with this. Any questions? Please. Yeah.
Hi, Venkat. Delhi here. Very good evening.
Yes.
Hi,
I know what is the career opportunities in this field, especially in the generative AI?
It depends. Are you a programmer or you are a user?
I'm a techie from a different background. I don't have a coding knowledge.
Okay.
What would be your suggestion on it?
Yeah. First is easier to answer. I'll answer if you're a programmer, I'll assume, though you said you're not much. Programmers in the short term, everybody, every system, every software, every company wants to use LLM, generative AI. So there's huge amount of coding opportunity. One of the things I didn't show in my demos is these tools can also be used to generate code. I wrote a complete website just by giving prompts to ChatGPT. That is also a possibility. But still it doesn't run perfect code. So you still need programmers. So there's large opportunity for programmers to use these models and write code. So that so if you're a programmer, learn Python, learn OpenAI, ChatGPT, learn all these models. That's one. But if you're not a programmer, you're a writer. I regularly use these models to improve my blog. I don't ask it to write. I don't say there is a new movie, Mission Impossible. I didn't say, give me a review for Mission Impossible. Then there is no input from me. But I wrote a review and gave it to ChatGPT, asked it to improve it and said, make it funny, make it shorter, make it longer, make it better. So if you learn how to use these tools, there's a whole field called prompt engineering. If you're somebody who's writing a lot of text, go spend a couple of hours in YouTube and learn prompt engineering. I covered basics in my talk. Learn it better and you'll be able to use these tools to generate text that are better engaging with your audience. So that's one use. If you're an Adobe Photoshop illustrator or a designer, these tools are a boon. You can come up with ideation, and think of these tools to augment your capability. So those are if you're able to use these tools to augment your capability, you're going to be successful.
Great, Venkat. Thanks for the explanation.
Thank you. There was one other question, please. There's a mention about plugins. I didn't talk about plugins. Plugins are the way in which you extend the capabilities of ChatGPT. The music generation thing is through a plugin connected to ChatGPT. Similarly, the prompt for the image, a boy and a girl in Taj Mahal, that expanded into a lengthier prompt. That's again by a plugin. Basically, these are systems that sit on top of ChatGPT and extend it. Any other questions? Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Venkat. And it's been a quite insightful topic. And you have carried it on so easily for us to understand. And I think that 1 hour just went off like that. Do I have Vijay here? A lot many people were not able to join because, you know, we didn't expect 100+ crowd, and nearly 80 more people had to be in the waiting room for 30 minutes, and we had to ask them to, not to try. So hopefully we need another session from you, Venkat, for all those people who are disappointed not being here today. But however, thanks a lot. And over to you, Sarada and Vijay, for a few words.
You asked me to start speak after Venkat has done a phenomenal session. What more I can say? I think Venkat, you left all of us speechless, I should say, and you know, dwindled that interest of doing this and that. You showed us the possibility that is much more important than, you know, just doing it as a technical session where. And I understood that there is so much of opportunities or so much of playing around that you can definitely do with the ChatGPT. But only thing is you have to jump into it and then start doing it. That's what I understood. So thank you so much, Venkat. It was a phenomenal evening. Hopefully we should have a repeat session like this. I think there has been a lot of requests for us to have one more session with you on the same topic because many people missed attending this. The recording is different, but you know, hearing it firsthand from you is much more different kind of an experience. Already Uma has got a request for holding a second session. So I will start troubling you again, Venkat. So keep your calendar open for me.
Thank you.
We will ensure there is no Zoom limitation going forward.